Let's take a look at the application of big data and some things that people need to keep in mind. Recognizing that big data is something that could be of use to an advertising agency, it could be of use to a city planner, to a politician, even to a large enterprise organization. If you take all of them into account and kind of just step back a bit, what are three things that everybody needs to just remember about big data?
Well, I think one of the things that to keep in mind is big data really isn't social media data, because a lot of people like to call that out as the biggest segment of data. But actually, the biggest area of interest for big data is sensor data, or machine to machine data, M to M. This is an area that's growing prolifically. So you can think of the telecom networks around the world, the type of data that's just constantly generated every minute, and how important and valuable that is. The data that comes out of an electric utility where they're managing their grid of power, and the data itself helps improve operations, but it takes on a value beyond that. And it may not even just pertain to the industry. It could have value to other industries. It's something you alluded to, where you're taking different events and putting them together to understand a new pattern. Well, data works the same way, and you may have data from one industry you need to look at with another industry or another purpose, and new light bulbs can go off. So we now see more organizations selling their data to other organizations or other industries. The CDC is a huge procurer of all kinds of this kind of big data to understand more about disease and how it's spread and how to maintain health. I mean, these are exciting, wonderful developments, and it doesn't involve any identity, any privacy. It's taking data and doing more with it. So it's excellent to see different organizations understanding the value of this. Now, another thing to understand is we've talked about a bit, is how messy big data is. It takes a lot of work to take it through processing and get to the point where you're getting something to work with, and it will take a lot of testing. What's helping that is, of course, we have these great technologies that are lower cost. You have things like Hadoop, and then a lot of middleware that can run on lower cost commodity hardware to take the cost out of it, so you actually can have the leeway in terms of infrastructure to test and experiment and see what kinds of answers that you can come up with. And that's very good. But you also have to have some very smart people driving that effort. You have to marry, as we should in businesses anyway, technology with business goals, so that we understand that we're doing something of value.
It sounds almost as if you're talking there about not rushing to judgment with big data.
I think that's correct. And the people who find the best results are the ones who do a lot of that testing and experimenting, and also collaborating with many different roles, just to bring in those perspectives to make sure that they are on the right track. Even if they're finding a new track that nobody's looked at, we have domain experts or subject matter experts who can bring in their information and their thoughts to say, I think we're onto something. Let's correlate this with these other data sources and see what we can figure out from there. I think what I really want to emphasize over and over again is this: big data is not an end-all and be-all. It's the human perspective, the human brain, that still is a fabulous data processor, because it can connect dots in ways that a lot of really intricate algorithms are never going to be able to do it, to recognize patterns. So that the people that matter in enterprises need to be involved in these processes to make sure you're really doing work that's going to help.
I think that's a great point. We shouldn't be using big data and big data systems as a decision tool. It should be something that assists us in making a decision.
Absolutely.